Welcome to the Take a Listing Today podcast, where our hosts Jim Studebaker and Todd Robertson give you strategies to get you out of the office right now so you can take a new listing today. And now, here's Jim and Todd.
Yes, Jim and Todd here, the Take a Listing Today podcast. Welcome to show number 97.
Ooh, we're 3 shows away from something very, very special.
Something very special indeed. So I'm Jim, there's Todd, and Todd, who's that over there?
Our wonderful producer, Lisa Gray, in the corner.
Ah, yeah. Very nice. There is Lisa. And thank you for showing up today. Don't forget our website, takealistingtoday.com. It has all kinds of wonderful things that will help you in your career. And on today's show, this is going to help you. Have you ever wondered when it's actually time to give up on a marketing campaign? Well, hopefully all of your campaigns are successful, so the answer would be never.
Never.
But just in case, we are going to go over some psychology about when it is time to give up on a marketing campaign. Shall we get right into it, Lisa?
Yes, I love this topic. I mean,
All right.
I'm super excited.
Here we go. So, the psychology of marketing. There have been decades of studies that have shown that repeated exposure to a stimulus, like a specific marketing campaign, can lead individuals to consider the stimulus more pleasant. That's something. So like if you keep getting electrocuted every day, eventually you're going to like it.
Right, exactly. Stop. Oh, I like it now. Yeah.
Oh, that was kind of nice. I enjoyed that. Do it again.
Let's try
Wow.
the test. I think we should do an internal test. Which one of you wants to be the subject?
Yeah, we're gonna pick you.
you would be the one.
But I think what you just said is great. A great example is Peloton, right? Think about how they were getting beat up during the pandemic,
right?
And they never quit. They're like, people are at home. We're going to sell these $2,000 bikes. So they just kept pushing and pushing. They never put their foot off the gas on those commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the studies actually go back to 1876, and you know they did some weird things back then.
Things we might not even know about it.
Probably illegal now.
Right.
All right. So the fact is, repeat exposure actually has an impact on the cognition-emotion interaction. You know, that's something that Lisa came up with there. I didn't come up with that. The cognition-emotion interaction. This impact is referred to as mere exposure, M-E-R-E, mere exposure. Now, mere exposure results in a phenomenon where people develop a preference for things or people, such as a real estate agent, that they are more familiar with than others. Mere exposure has been proven to take place after 10 to 20 exposures to that stimuli, whatever it happens to be.
And think about, like in our producers meeting, we were talking about tissue and Kleenex, right? Or the other example of Rolaids, right? How do you spell relief? R-O-L-A-I-D-S. Well, that's not been on the air for 15 years.
Right.
That just got drilled in. I mean, it ties in perfectly here. And our objective here is to help you get branded at that level so you get the listings, you get the closings, and you win the game.
Now, the good news is that the mere exposure effect actually exists in most areas of decision making. So in other words, people will always gravitate towards what they know best and what they are more familiar with when making a decision.
Yeah, I think this, a great example of this is how people tend to buy the same brand of car, or they keep getting the same breed of dog over years. So it's what they're familiar with. They stay with it. You know, we were talking about in the production meeting, Pepsi and Coca-Cola. You know, it's a fierce thing if you're a Pepsi lover versus a Coca-Cola, etc. They're in their camps. They don't want to leave their camps. It's what they're familiar with. It could be the very first of the soda that they tried, and that became their guy, their go-to. They don't want to try something new. So again, there's that psychology. Maybe it was commercials. Maybe they saw repeated exposures for one brand or the other. Maybe somebody in the house was drinking it, so they were exposed to it because that brand was right in front of them all the time, over and over again. And that became their go-to drink. They're very similar drinks, but boy, you talk to somebody who drinks Pepsi about drinking Coke and they think it's horrible, and vice versa.
But it took a couple of repetitions before that was their go-to brand.
Yes.
And it's the
absolutely.
same.
Well,
right?
Exactly, 100%. And I'll share this example that just popped in my mind. When I worked with Tony Robbins, he told us, so he was at the beginning of the infomercial wave. He and Susan Powder, that exercise lady.
Yeah, I remember her.
And he started off not knowing, am I going to make it or not? But he caught that wave early. And I don't know who convinced him, but he was on TV every half hour, every day, somewhere throughout the world for like 7 years.
Yeah.
So think about that. Branding times 500.
And I bet you that branding, just like the Oscar Mayer Wiener commercial from the 70s, is still in our heads, or, any of us that are old enough.
Right.
Even though the commercial hasn't been on the air in 50 years, for Tony Robbins, that brand awareness from a certain generation or a couple of generations back in the 80s is still serving him today. Think about it. I bet you that generation is, if you look at his demographic, he may have some young people, but how much do you want to bet his demographic aged with him?
Right, they went
because
along
they
with
saw
him.
him back then.
That's a good point.
That branding seeped into the recesses of their minds. I know it did for me. I remember Tony back then.
Yep.
Wayne Dyer was another one. It's like you
yeah.
get branded by
He was great.
certain influencers out there, and it's hard to shake them, let them go, because
Public television,
they're
Wayne Dyer,
familiar,
PBS.
and you trust them. And that's that psychology. That's that science we're talking about. Speaking of Pepsi, I just saw a commercial for them the other day on TV. And every time I see something like this, I am surprised, and then I get excited, because I'm thinking, come on, really? Is there anybody that doesn't know about Pepsi? But this is what they're doing. They understand mere exposure, and they understand the fact that the second that they walk away from doing any type of advertising, either somebody else, a new player, is going to step into that space and start to brand through mere exposure, or Coca-Cola is going to start to get some of their market share and grab it from them.
That could apply to a lot of places. McDonald's advertises all the time, but I'm pretty sure every person knows who McDonald's is.
Well, and you bring up a great point, because we're talking about helping the real estate agent win, get more closings, get more market share. And why can a brand new person beat an experienced person sometimes? Enthusiasm, and they start off doing what they're told to do because they don't know any better. And the experienced person let their foot, I got beat up there. Oh, that didn't work. And the new person just going, boom, they can win. They can win.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, there was an agent I spoke with sometime last year, and he was talking about how his listing clients just started to fall off. He was just like going gangbusters.
Right.
He has this big business he built for himself, this team. And all of a sudden, he's like, what the heck? This is so strange. I mean, we've just been really solid in this area. He kind of did a review and looked at all angles of the business. What's missing? What have I done different? He realized, I don't send listing postcards anymore.
So that one variable he left out. Wow.
So when they would get a new listing, they didn't feel the need to send them anymore. We don't need that. We have so many clients. We'll never run out of clients. Doesn't matter how many clients he had. When he stopped being in front of people, repeated exposure like that in an area, he no longer existed.
Repeated exposure, and I'll tie it right into Market Dominator. We've had, in the past 3 months, we've had 4 people who have called up and said, I fulfilled my 2-year listing campaign. I have a lot of business. I don't need that expense. And they call back, can I get my route back?
On second thought.
On second thought. It just goes to your point. Is they let their foot off the gas, and people are like, maybe they moved or they're not.
Yeah, the question I would have is, I'm sorry, are you bigger than Pepsi?
Right.
Because, I mean, why are they still doing it? These people are, these companies are billion, trillion-dollar companies. Why are they doing this? Why are they putting money there?
Because it works. One reason.
And they follow the law. Everybody out there knows the law, right?
Don't break the law.
3-7-27. Now, if you don't know that law, be glad you're not in jail right now.
Because if you break the law, you don't get branded. If you don't get branded, you can't make a ton of money.
And then you have to rob a bank, and then you're going to be in jail.
Right.
See, it
Like
all
another
works
law.
around.
All the laws start to fall apart once this one does.
But here's how the law works. It takes 3 times in front of somebody for them to recognize your name. 7 times for someone to put a name to the business, and 27 times before they are going to feel really comfortable doing business with you. So why would you stop after 3 or 7 or 27? But it takes at least that long before you get that level.
And I like what you just said, because what Jim just touched on is what Pepsi's doing. It's what, we're going to talk about, the pillow guy, right? Mind share equals market share. So if you can do 3, 7, 27, if you could do exposure, compound, repetition, mind share does equal market share.
Yeah.
I mean,
My Pillow, the Mike guy, Mike Lindell, right?
Yep.
Pillow commercials on all the time.
All the time. So he's probably taking Tony Robbins' idea back then and going, I'm pushing everything in, reinvesting nuclear.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
So why is geographic farming so effective for a real estate professional? Well, you are committed to staying in front of hundreds of homeowners every month. So you will be the familiar face that they gravitate towards when they are ready to make a move in that area. It's also why your sphere of influence is so incredibly important to your real estate business and your long-term success. Now, these are people who already know you. They've already been exposed to you. All you are trying to do is remain present in their mind to keep that mere exposure going.
And NAR says that if you do what Jim just talked about, these are NAR numbers, National Association of Realtors, that if you're doing a marketing campaign, right, of whatever extent, that if you don't take your foot off the gas in the first year, you'll get about a 10% market share. So if 30 listings pop up, you should get 3. If you continue that, and the great agents will, that number should double to 20 the second year. That's an NAR stat.
That's a pretty good stat, too.
Well, and you know what's interesting about that? I probably would notice Mike's pillow commercials more when I'm in need of a pillow, right?
Right.
That's when we really hone in on something, when we're ready to buy, right? So part of sales, I think the hardest part of sales for many salespeople to understand that a big part of what you're doing is about timing. It's about hitting somebody right at the moment when they're ready to buy. So when you have a geographic farm or a sphere of influence, and hopefully you have both, you're exposing yourself repeatedly over and over and over, figuratively, over and over and over again.
You're not really exposing yourself, right? Good.
And over time, you're catching people
Right.
when they're ready to act.
When their timing's correct.
And guess what? They're thinking, maybe I should start. Oh, there's that postcard. They're looking at you, and they're thinking, and they get, there's another postcard. Oh, you're in the neighborhood walking around. They just are continually getting exposed. They're in the doctor's office. They see your newsletter there.
Right.
And they're thinking about it, so they're really honing in on it even more so. Now, the next year, you're in that same neighborhood of 700 homes, and you're continuing, that ripple effect is continuing to happen. You're hitting more and more.
Yep.
Because statistically, in a neighborhood of 700-800 homes, there's a percentage, 8%, that are moving on an ongoing basis.
Right.
Every year, that much of that neighborhood will turn over. So you're hitting these people as those turnovers statistically are happening. So it grows and grows and grows, right? Because that exposure at the right time continues to happen and seep deeper in.
Right. And if you're not marketing consistently, how do you know when the right time is? You're just
Oh
guessing.
my gosh,
You're just
forget it.
Right.
Forget it. That's why you will hear people say, and we see it all the time because Prospects Plus has such extraordinary products. Oh my gosh, I sent out one just listed postcard and got 3 leads. Yeah, that will happen, especially in a hot market, because you timed it, you hit it, nail it, perfectly, perfect
Right.
timing. And you might try it again and say, I didn't get any this time. What the heck would I do different?
But it's the law of averages.
Yeah.
The numbers game will always work out.
Right. And that's the part of sales that I think any sales rep, the masters get it.
Right.
And that's why they continue to hit those numbers. The amateurs don't get it, and they fluke out and get a lead once in a while, and then they don't because they stop. And they think, well, it's not working because, I did 2 postcards or I did
Right.
2.
Why would I do that again? That
Yeah.
didn't work. That becomes their
And
mindset.
you're completely losing the whole point. 2 things, mere exposure and timing. You're trying to
Nice.
do both. Yeah.
Nice.
But then you have a third thing you got to do, right?
Yes.
So while you're exposing yourself, you're marketing.
Figuratively.
your postcards in the
marketing.
mailbox.
You need to do it in a layered fashion. Now, let's go back to the pillow guy. So in addition to seeing him on TV, you also see him on Amazon. His stuff is in Bed Bath & Beyond and Target.
He's
and
also in your
all
car on
kinds
the
of
radio.
places, on the radio,
Yep.
in newspapers.
Yep.
He's all over the place.
Social
So that is
media.
layering your marketing. So more than one technique.
Yeah.
So as a real estate agent, it's not enough to just do direct mail. Think about what else you can do to appear like you are everywhere. How about some agents taking their marketing pieces, their newsletters, and dropping them off a local dentist office or a doctor's office? Probably your own. Don't just go into some stranger's doctor's office and say, hey, I just want to drop these off here.
Well, I will tell you, let me interject on that strategy alone. So that strategy Jim just mentioned can be worth 5 or 10 closings in 1 year, and probably more. 3 or 4 months ago, one of our Market Dominator clients shared this with me, right? When we used to do the monthly video series. So we give them free 20 every month. And one of our videos was to go spread them around to small businesses within your route. So they're getting your marketing piece. and they only had 20. So the video said, go in there, let's say auto dealership, let's say hair salon, oil change, wherever people have to wait, and you're only asking to leave 1 or 2. You don't have 500. Nobody says no. I've got more than one call from agents that included the businesses that go, wow. Because think about that. If it's within your budget, I always say include the businesses, because if it's an oil change, that could, in theory, be sitting there for a while. That could hit 5 or 10 people.
Absolutely.
If it's an auto dealership, you know, what do people wait all day in the service department? They're reading their phones. So spreading marketing pieces around, it's business to business. You know, they have an indirect obligation to do business back. So there's magic in that.
Right. Right. And then you start being seen everywhere.
But it takes some chutzpah. Even though realtors know about it, I don't think many do it. They don't go out and do it. So those of you listening, watching, implement this so you can separate yourself from the competition.
Right. If you're sending out a monthly newsletter or a Market Dominator, well, Dominator, if you're a Dominator member, you get extras.
Right.
You get 20 extras a month. But if you're sending out newsletters, get extras shipped to you.
Correct.
And so that you've got 20 or so that you can go around and hand out. Absolutely.
We've got a guy that does child labor. He hires kids to place small flags with his business card on them around Memorial Day, 4th of July.
Right. He gets out of prison in 2013, but
so it'll be good. He'll have a good business base once he gets out.
So he's doing that in his farm area?
I hope so, unless he's in jail. So
if you're listening, call us. We'll bail you out. We'll wire the money.
Maybe giving out treat bags at Halloween. So come up with creative ways to become the ruler of your market or your specific farm area. That way people not only know who to turn to, but they've seen your face, they know what you do, and they're going to be comfortable reaching out to you for help in real estate.
You know, I was thinking about the treat bags, and someone listening, they might be like, well, yeah, we all give out treat bags at Halloween. Well, how I think this person did it is they would walk their farm neighborhood or their carrier route neighborhood with treat bags, with business cards and all kinds of stuff, because people are outside, right? They're out in their neighborhood. A lot of people tailgate where they're in their driveway cooking and stuff like that, or barbecuing while the kids are out trick-or-treating, and they're handing it out to the homeowners. But, you know, as I was thinking about that, you know, it wouldn't be the worst thing ever to throw a business card in
right
to a little kid. If you're at your house, why not throw a candy bar in and a business card into the kids thing?
Wow. So you remember Charlie Brown? He got the rock in every bag. You're gonna have some little kid bawling her eyes out. I got a business card.
Right. I want a candy.
What? Wow. That's a great idea, Lisa. You are traumatizing kids all over the country
and
now.
a candy bar, both.
But your idea just took my mind
just not good. No, that deserves some loser
however,
horns
we
there.
can improve on her idea. I just wrote down the following.
How could you not? Go on.
So, oh God, do we have fun? I can't wait till our 100th.
No, but they're going to
100th
hand
show.
it to their mom. Look what I got in here, and they'll look and go, we were just thinking of selling. I'll call this.
Right. So in addition to the taking the kid trick or treating. So think about who doesn't like swag bags, right? You go get a new car, you get swag bag, the shirt, the hat, so the realtor could have a separate swag bag to hand out that might have, if they work for Keller, Coldwell, whoever, you know, they could have a shirt, a couple cool things in there. That would help brand them, a little swag bag.
Oh, totally.
And they're not hiding it. They could have on the outside, hey, just wanted to drop.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I know.
You gave me a great idea.
So your idea led to this.
I'm going to hand out a Take a Listing Today podcast t-shirt to kids who come to my house on Halloween.
I love it. And their parents will go, wait a minute, what is that? And they'll tune in.
The kid's going to be upset. I got a crappy t-shirt.
Give them an apple with
that. Their parents
he'll like the apple.
And they're going to say, do not go to that house ever again.
Right.
Okay.
Stay away.
Unless the shirt fit the dad, he's going to go, oh, great, this is can you go back and get two more?
Yeah, he might be okay. Look, I got to work on the car, so I'll wear this. Okay. All right. So let's move on and determine if there's ever a good time to dump out of a campaign, a marketing campaign, and do something else, not a different career, but just the marketing campaign that you're doing.
We can't help you with that. If you want to go and be a dog trainer instead or something.
If you follow
that's a different show.
If you follow our sage advice, you'll never need to get into a new career. So when you're setting up a new campaign, make sure that your message is meeting the specific market that you are going after. And for steps on that, you might want to watch our brilliant podcast, The 13 Principles of High ROI Direct Mail Marketing. For more information on that topic, just go back in the YouTube archives, and it's
And
back
I
there
would say
somewhere.
do that, because we actually teach the best practices of direct mail. So we're serving that up to make it easy for you.
Yep.
And we do that in our marketing here.
Yeah. So once you've set up that targeted high ROI campaign with the ability to track, then follow these suggestions for the law of branding and don't stop until you feel that you've reached mere exposure. You'll know it when you're there.
Which is 10 to 20 or more, law of branding says 27, exposures. So if you're in a direct mail campaign, it's not 2 months. It's not 3 months.
Correct.
You're not going to hit that psychological mere exposure yet. It's just not, you're not there. But however, if you haven't set up a high ROI campaign, you might want to take a look at that. So if you've got a campaign running right now, just make sure you're hitting those, ticking those boxes. You got a great campaign going because you do want to stick with it.
Exactly. Now, after 10 or 20 exposures, if you're not seeing any results, review your campaign a little bit. Look at the market you're going after. Maybe it's not quite right. Look at your call to action. Maybe it's the wrong area, not enough homes in that area. Maybe the turnover isn't enough. Maybe your budget is too small. There's a lot of things that could be tweaked. Then once you've looked at that, rework your campaign. So, ready for the bottom line?
And before he gives you the bottom line, here's what's interesting. I wrote in the production meeting the following. I said, go big. There is no victory in playing small. So think about it, as a real estate agent, you're competing in your board, right?
Yep.
And you've got two options. Wait for the business, which is no good, or put systems in place and go get the business. There is no victory in playing small, and you only get paid when you help somebody accomplish their objectives. So implement these strategies today.
That's good. If you're going small, don't bother.
Correct.
Go big or go home. Isn't that what they say?
Yep.
Right.
All right. So here's the bottom line to that. Working towards building your flourishing farm or sphere area takes time and exposure. So don't give up too soon. Think about the 3 months down the road, the years to come, and how these areas will focus on repeat business and referral business. And that will take your real estate business to a whole new level of success.
A whole new level. And I'm sure most of you have read the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And there's a story in there called Acres of Diamonds. And the story is about someone that had land on a hill and they knew there was something there. So they spent all these years, didn't find anything, sold it and left. A new person bought it and said, oh, what did this person do? And they started continuing. And it was like 2 feet past where that guy stopped. So the message is don't stop.
Exactly.
We hope you've enjoyed today's podcast.
All right. Well, there we are. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Prospects Plus. Visit their website, ProspectsPLUS.com. Next week, maybe we'll have better success trying to make a big winner out of some people, but hopefully you did learn when it's time to wrap up your marketing campaign and how to have a successful marketing campaign. So, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.